Then I was in such a rush to get to yoga, I forgot my mat. I had to use some nasty loner mat, and it smelled like balls. I don't know what the big deal is. I love the way balls smell.
So I was planning on making a video about writing powerful narration, trying to pull together a list of best-in-class examples, and I just kept circling back to this one 7-minute film from 2015. It's a short film called Denali, and you've probably seen it. It's directed by Ben Knight and produced and starring Ben Moon. And honestly, it's a masterclass in creative documentary writing. I've watched it so many times, and 10 years later, it still makes me and my kids, who just watched it with me a few minutes ago, bawl our eyes out. I met Ben and Ben around the same time the film came out at Telluride Mountain Film. They were warm, present, humble, and just good dudes, and you could feel that sincerity in the film. It's honest, unpretentious, and deeply emotional. That's probably why it still resonates. It has 14 million views on Vimeo, and it even helped launch a best-selling memoir for Ben Moon, which I highly recommend, by the way. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna break down exactly what makes the writing in Denali so powerful, step by step. But first, do yourself a favor, head over to Ben's page and watch the film. It's only 7 minutes long, and trust me, you want the full emotional experience before we dissect it. Of course, if you haven't seen it already. Then come right back here, because once you've seen it, I'll walk you through how the narration works, why it hits so hard, and what you can steal from it for your own documentary filmmaking.
We've got to go back to the beginning.
Great filmmaking is about narrative harmony, like a duet between two instruments.
To harmonize.
Visuals and sound. And in this case, voice with narration. If one overpowers the other, and if they're out of sync, the whole thing falls flat. But when they're working together, the emotion soars.
I'm not sure if it's the cancer or something else, but he's been taking me to all the places we used to go to and checking on me a lot.
Denali nails this. Every second of narration is in rhythm with the visuals. The writing makes the narrator instantly likable. The structure hooks you early, builds tension and release, drops surprising turns, and ends with a painful but deeply satisfying resolution. It's 7 minutes of perfect emotional architecture. Align voice with soul. Whether you're writing your own voice or for someone else, like Ben Knight did here, you want to match the narration to the personality of the hero of the story. In most great films, the narrator is the hero, or at least their spirit guide. And the genius of Denali is that the narrator, spoiler alert if you haven't gone and watched it, is a dog.
I'd pretend I was a giant stinky butterfly. I'd help Ben find girlfriends.
Which could have been gimmicky, but instead, it's profound. It stays rooted in the kind of loving, non-judgmental presence we associate with a best friend. But every word feels true, and that's what makes it hit so hard. So let's break down what Ben did here to make this work so well. Let it breathe. When lightning strikes, we see it before we hear it. Visuals hit us like that. Fast, instinctual, emotional, processed by the right brain in an instant. Narration, on the other hand, is like thunder. It takes a second to catch up, and it's information that needs to be analyzed by the left brain, and it's slower. That's why narration needs lots of space, visual breathing room before, after, and between sentences, so the audience can absorb what they're seeing and what they're hearing in harmony. In Denali, they don't cram the narration in, they leave quiet openings. They let ambient sound carry transitions. There are pauses between big ideas, and the ending plays out almost entirely without words, which makes it really hit hard. Tension, release, and humor. The rhythm of storytelling. I don't know this for a fact, but I bet Ben Knight could write one hell of a best man speech.
Of course, it's not my fault, but I became so handsome that it was impossible to ignore.
He gets the rhythm, the tension and release. The script is emotionally loaded with huge themes like mortality, loyalty, love, and loss. But it's not relentlessly beating you over the head. People can't handle relentless grief. So he gives us breaks. And those breaks are usually dry, understated jokes that land perfectly. About 20% of the script, roughly 120 words out of 650 words, I know because I transcribed it, is quiet, dry humor. Not slapstick, not punchlines per se, just character-driven wit that deepens the connection.
I remember feeling really sad for Ben when he found out he'd have to poop into a plastic bag attached to his stomach for the rest of his life. Mainly because he already had to put all of my poop into plastic bags.
These jokes don't undercut the emotion. In fact, they do the opposite. They amplify it. They give us permission to exhale. They build trust, and they make the sad parts even more affecting. Tension keeps your audience leaning in. Release keeps them with you, so they don't need to go out for a smoke break. One of my favorite things in Denali is how the narration and visuals collaborate. At one point, Denali says,
The worst, though, was when this letter came from the insurance company.
And then silence. He doesn't explain it. He doesn't read the letter. He just shows it. And it's perfect because it invites the audience in. It makes you lean forward. You want to read it for yourself. And the meaning hits harder because you had to work for it just a little bit. Another great example.
He's what his hippie friends call a free spirit or something.
Then they cut to a photo of Ben. The narration sets it up. The image is the payoff. This kind of collaboration between sound and picture is titillating. Handle big reveals with care. The beautiful structure of the film is so highly satisfying because it has layers and reveals new dramatic things until the very end. And Ben Knight is really thoughtful about how he delivers each new reveal. He doesn't just drop a fact. He finds a way to feel into them. For example, when we learn that Ben had cancer, Denali doesn't say, "That's when I found out Ben had cancer and they were giving him chemo." That's fine, I guess, but instead he says,
Things changed a lot after that. When I licked him, I could taste the chemicals they were putting in him to kill the cancer.
That line makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. So how do you get there? Hint, it doesn't come on the first draft. You get there by writing it straight, then rewriting it, reshaping it, and just continuing to experiment. For me, the really strong lines tend to come on the fourth or fifth pass. After I've lived with the material for a while, suddenly you start having these insights.
Oh my God! Wow!
So give yourself time, iterate, rewrite it until you hit that moment where you go, that's it. Soul is the brevity of wit. Every line advances the story. Every word counts. There's no filler. This precision makes a story stronger and makes the emotion clearer. And most importantly, it respects the audience's time and intelligence. But how do you know how much to write, how much to keep in or keep out? It's not always obvious. It's a series of questions that you have to ask yourself. Does this line reinforce the theme? Does it add tension or release? Does it reveal something essential about the relationship? If it doesn't check one of these boxes, it's probably not advancing the story.
If anyone had tried to take me out of that hospital room, I would have bitten their face.
Denali is a reminder that great narration can deepen a story, can make it richer. It doesn't just tell a story. It's not just information. It is the story. It feels the story. If you want to write narration that moves people, study this film.
Ben said a raven swooped by while he carried me to the vet's car in the morning. I'm sure his hippie friends had lots to say about that.
Narration is an art, and like any art, it's worth studying. And if you want more deep dives into what makes great storytelling work, hit subscribe, like the video, stick around. I've got more doc filmmaking tools for you every week. Make docs, move hearts. Peace out.